Suure mängu teisel hooajal nägime nii suuri panku kui väga intrigeerivaid mänguolukordi.
So I bet 2600, obviously trying to get value. I can possibly even get 3 streets if the board runs out good.
Täna viime teid reisile pokkerikurude särava mõistuse kiirteele.
I'm thinking he's taking a stab at it.
All of a sudden my plan changed. I think you can make a decent argument for folding my hand here.
Ja laseme mängijatel selgitada otsuse protsessi teatud hetkedel.
All sorts of hands.
I also know that he knows that I can play pretty tricky.
Algab big game, best of behind the poker face.
I'm ready to gamble.
Let's do some business.
Now it's the big game.
This is a big hand. Oh, you got that. Come on, Tony.
You want to see it?
No fun.
Just unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay, now fold everything.
Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun.
Who are you calling a rabbit?
You guys are animals. Get raised, that's me. You're donkey.
This makes me as attractive as anybody else. What is going on? Oh my God.
Registered there is so high level.
Beat me in the hand, Phil. You understand, Phil? I own you. He's a machine. He's a beast.
It doesn't get any bigger than this.
There you go. Welcome to the game.
Tere õhtust, head televaatajad, ja tere tulemast Las Vegasesse suure mängu stuudiosse, mis on praegu tühi, aga millise laua peal on liikunud läbi miljoneid dollareid valetamata. Ja siin on kolleegid Joe ja Scott, kes siis viivad meid tänase teise hooaja Best of saate erisaatesse, kus me tutvustame mõtteprotsessi parimate pokkerimängijate teatud otsuste taga. Seega siis, kui te nüüd kavatsete pokkerimängus ennast tõesti harida, siis see protsess või see saade peaks olema teile nii-öelda kohustuslikuks lindistamiseks. Sest siin me saame mängijatelt endalt kuulda nii pro et kontra, nii poolt kui vastu, mis sundis neid ühte või teist otsust vastu võtma. Ja esimesena toome teieni mänguolukorra, kus lähevad vastamisi Vanessa Selbst ja Antonio Esfandiari.
Poker's kind of cool in that way. You could tell someone that your entire thinking and then go ahead and raise.
Antoniol on maistist 9-6, Vanessa Selbstil emand 9. Vanessa on agressiivselt siis tõstnud.
I don't think it worked after that.
No.
Esfandiari maksab talle selle tõste kinni.
Flip the script sometimes and go up.
Nüüd vaatab Vlad Friedman oma 3 ja poissi Mostilehti. Aga praegu ta siit kaasa ei tule. Hagens 7-9-ga samuti mitte. Ja siin me kahekesi oleme. Näeme, et Vanessa Selbsti emand 9 selgelt juhib. Flop on 6-10-4. 2 ruutut neist. 6 on pihta saanud Esfandiari, kes selle paariga ka selles jaotuses hetkel siis juhib selgelt nii 2/3 1 vastu, aga jällegi Selbst on agressor, panustab 2300, Esfandiari maksab talle selle kinni, veel 1 ruutu tuleb lauda, see annab teatud võimalusi siit nüüd juba Vanessa Selbstile, 3 ruutut on lauas, tal on masti tõmme, ta võib vabalt hakata reppima ka masti, aga seda ta veel ei tee siis demonstreerima, võtab hoopis rahulikult, mängib väga üllatavalt seda kätt. Ja tšekib praegu, nüüd katsub Vanessat proovile panna Antonio Esfandiari, panustades $5200. Ja Vanessa ragistab praegu ajusid, millega Esfandiari minu vastu võib mängida. Eks me hiljem täpsemalt kuuleme. Ja nüüd näeme vastulööki Vanessa Selbstilt, $21,400 tõste. Vanessa on mänginud seda jaotust väga üllatavalt, väga mitmekesiselt. Ma usun, et segadusse viivalt Esfandiari osas. Esfandiaril on $135,200 stäkkis alles pangas. Esfandiari võib praegu arvata, et tal see 6 peab. Ta võib väga vabalt ka ise üritada mängida, just kui tal oleks see mast, maksis praegu Vanessa Selbsti tõste kinni ja Riverist tuleb lauale veel 1-2. See näitab meile, et Antonio Esfandiari on selle jaotuse võitnud oma 6 paariga. Vanessa Selbst masti kokku ei saanud aga mida nad nüüd teevad? Üks panustusvoor on veel alles jäänud. Vanessa panustab $59,700. See on pool Antonio Esfandiari pangast. Pank ise laual on juba $110,900, nagu te näete. Esfandiari on nüüd väga tõsise hetke ees. No, sisuliselt poolt ei ole mõtet tal praegu siin selle pangaga siduda. Kui ta kavatseb minna, siis ta peab minema lõpuni. Mis sellel Vanessal võib olla? Kas see on totaalne bluff või on tal see mast käes? Ja Prolad Friedman läheb siin Amanda Ledemani juurde oma mõtteid jagama. Ja Prolad Friedman on täiesti valel teel. Antoniol ei ole rida ja Vanessa Selbstil ei ole masti. Antonio loobub siin, ei ole valmis uskuma, et ta 6 paar on endiselt hea ja Vanessa Selbst selle suure totaalse bluffiga võtab siit korraliku panga. Ja nüüd saame siis kuulda, mida Vanessa ja Antonio ise sellest käest arvavad.
Yeah.
Stick it in there.
Just ship it. How can you go? Hand 79, Vanessa opened for 1300. I was on the button, and on this particular hand, I have 6-9 suited. I had position and decided just to call it.
And I know that he can call me with a really wide range of hands. Queen 9 offsuit on the cutoff. You know, a lot of players would fold that, but I've been folding so much that I think it's an easy open for me.
The flop came out 10-6-4 with 2 diamonds. She led for 2300. I think she's leading there with all sorts of hands, just at the chance that I missed, and she's taking a stab at the pot.
For this board texture, normally with all of my value hands and also my bluffs, I'm going to be betting about 3/4 of the pot.
I have a pair of 6s, and so of course I call in position. I don't want to raise here and get re-raised and, you know, not know what to do.
At this point, I think that he could still have a very wide range of hands.
The turn came out of 3 of diamonds, which is not exactly the best card for me. She checked, and I regret betting, but I thought perhaps my 6 was the best hand. I didn't want to let her have a free card at a diamond or whatnot.
When I check and he bets 5,200, the thing is that Antonio really likes to bet after you check to him on the turn. I also know that he knows that I can play pretty tricky, so I think that he thinks that I'm less likely to make a really big bluff.
I was prepared to fold if I got check raised, and that's exactly what happened. She check raised me to 21,400, at which point I decided when I bet that I was probably going to fold if I got check raised. And for some reason, I got a little stubborn, and I wanted to take one off here and see perhaps if she really had it or if she was bluffing, and so I called.
And I know when he calls me that he now has a real hand, but I think that he could call me and just hope that I shut down on the river.
If the board paired or maybe another diamond came off, I was going to try and rep those hands as well. The river came at 2 of spades, and she let out for 59-7.
When I bet really big, I just thought that he would think that I wasn't likely to pull a big bluff like that on him.
I wasn't too happy about my hand. I only had a pair of 6s, but she either had a flush or she didn't have a flush.
I give him a lot of reasons to think that I might play a flush in this fashion.
She made a pretty decent-sized bet, and I didn't want to call it and be wrong. And so after some deliberation, I just decided that she had it.
And he folded, and that was it.
If she bluffed me, great job.
No nii kuulsime siis siin nii Vanessalt kui Antoniolt, mida nad sellest seisust arvavad.
So I just decided that I was going to re-raise this no matter what came.
I should raise huge. I don't think you have.
Aga me näeme Vanessat veel aktsioonis ja seda õige pea. Aga me näeme arutlemas siin teatud otsuste üle ka Negreanu, Randy Ludes ja palju teisi pokkeri hässasid, sest te vaatate Behind the Poker Face eri.
We are competition, aggression, trapped, fighting back. We are heroes. We are poker.
Live poker is definitely way slower. I play 24 online, so one here and live poker, which is much slower. It's like snail. Daniel Negreanu is going to be on the big game today, so I'm really excited. I have a lot of experience against him. I played 2,500 hands of heads up with him just not too long ago. I have a very strong grasp of how he plays, so I'm just going to call him down.
Härra Lou rääkis meile siis sellest, et live poker on täiesti teosammul liikuv mäng võrreldes internetipokkeriga, mida tema mängib, ja tal on väga palju kogemust Daniel Negreanu vastu. Ja siin nad siis siin kahekesi kohe ongi. Aga vaatame, kuidas see käsi kõigepealt kujuneb. Me oleme seda ka teistes kokkuvõttesaadetes varem teile näidanud. Courtney G, selle koosseisu püssirohu tünn alustab siit 9 paariga. Teeb tõste 1600, Negreanu maksab selle tõste kinni, Phil Lake ei mängi, Brian Kenny ei mängi ja sealt nüüd siis tuleb Randy Lou emanda paariga väikselt pimedalt sisse. 10-3 mastikaardid Rick Solomonil ja Rick Solomon ei lähe. Randy on tõstnud $6,000 ja Courtney G jaoks on see piisav selleks, et sellest jaotusest kaduda ja oodata järgmist võimalust.
You raised anyway. What is that all about?
What was that?
You knew I was calling, but you raised anyway.
You're reading too much into it, man.
I don't want to level myself here. I just want to try to flop a set, hit a set, and get it in. Can we do that?
You have a pair in.
Well, if I'm trying to flop a set, what do you think I started with?
Ja flop on siis 3-2 poiss. Me näeme, et see on hetkel Lõule väga hea flop. Tema emanda paar endiselt juhib taskupaar, ta panustab $8,000. Oli agressor enne floppi, on seda ka edasi.
You don't believe that?
I don't know. I believe a lot of people.
Negreanu jaoks on selles flopis üks ülekaart.
Call, raise river, I think. Okay.
Vaatame, kas Negreanu jääb oma plaani juurde. Hetkel ta maksab Lõu panuse vaid kinni.
I'm a little worried.
Turnist tuleb lauda 7. See oli nüüd see kaart, mis Daniel Negreanu jaoks võidukaks osutus. Tema 7. set on nüüd koos. Aga Randy Lõu jätkab. Panus on $20,000.
He doesn't believe me. I seriously say I'm going to do that and he doesn't care. Oh gosh.
Everyone lies, that's what I heard. Word on the street.
So is plan A still the plan? I'd like to defer.
You gotta respect internet guys that chat during hands. That's a very rare thing, and to that, hats off. He's chatted in the middle. If somebody's dialoguing with him, he just opens the door and goes there. Even I don't do that. I try not to.
So it's a mistake? Is that a mistake? Thanks for the...
I'm leveling myself too much. I call.
Ja Negreanu maksab selle panuse kinni. Pank on juba $70,600.
Still sticking to the plan.
Negreanu on selle jaotuse võitnud, hoolimata sellest, et Riverist tuli lauda S. Lõu lükkab veel ühe tänavajagu.
Wow, I love this guy.
$47,800.
I told you I have 3 threes and you just don't care, or you have that beat, right?
Well, if I talk too much, I might let you know what I have.
Bro, the thing is, when you talk, you might get the other result. You might get wins that you shouldn't have got, etc. You know?
That's true.
It's not all...
Negreanu ei kao siit kindlasti mitte kuskile. Ta praegu vaatab üle Randy Lõu alles jäänud stacki.
It really smells like aces.
Ja võib see lõhnata ükstapuha millegiga, aga ta ei saa siit kindlasti nagu tulema. Ja kohe me seda näemegi. Ja ta maksab selle tõste kinni, selle panuse kinni ning nüüd vaadatakse siis teise kaarte ja $166,200 liigub Daniel Kid Poker Negreanole. Aga kuuleme nüüd siis, mida ässadel endal nii Danielil kui Randil selle kohta öelda on.
Well, I've played a decent amount of poker with Randy online. This was the first time I had an opportunity to play with him in a live scenario.
Early on in the big game, I was raising a lot of pots, just playing very aggressively, and a lot of the table noticed this.
I felt like he might be a little more uncomfortable.
The loose cannon opens for 1,600. Daniel calls right after. I don't make too much of it. I woke up in the small blind with pocket queens, and this is like a gold mine because I've been just repopping so much and I finally get a pretty good hand. I make it 6,000, which is a pretty sizable raise.
After she folds, I figure we've got more than enough chips for me to make sense to call with pocket sevens.
And I expected Daniel to call with a very wide range at this point, just given that he was in position. We're playing pretty deep stacks. I would expect him to have any suited connector, any pocket pair. Then the flop came, Jack 3-2, rainbow.
I was trying to tell him that I had pocket threes. I'm like, wow, really cool, An interesting situation, okay? Because I have 3 threes.
I didn't really listen too much into it because I figured he's just trying to sell me a story.
You don't believe that?
I played a lot of hands with Daniel and he thinks I'm an aggressive player, so betting outright on a flop was definitely the best decision. So I bet $8,000 into the pot.
I figure he's either got aces, kings, queens, or like ace, king, ace, queen. So I really want him to slow down for the most part and also potentially like set up a bluff because at that point, I have sevens, which beats some hands, but if he's not bluffing, I'm in trouble. So I decided to convince him that I'm going to call the flop, call the turn, and raise on the river. That's plan A. I might change my mind, but plan A is call, ship river.
And once he called, you got to start putting him on ranges. I'm going to put him on like some jacks, a lot of jacks actually, and I'll say like any pocket pair that wasn't a set on the flop. But if you look at that whole range, there's definitely more hands that lost to pocket queens than beat me.
The turn card was a 7. All of a sudden my plan changed. He bet 20,000.
I chose to bet 20,000 instead of checking. The reason is when he called on flop, he's more likely to have a pair. So me checking to him and letting him pocket control wasn't really a great situation, give him a free card. I figure I'm just gonna keep on betting here. I was playing aggressively, so I would expect him to put me on a bluff a lot of times and he would call me down light.
If I went ahead and raised here, then he would really believe that I had 3 threes. I did get lucky enough to hit the set, so I thought if I raise him, he'll fold, but if he's got nothing, he might go ahead and bluff me on the river or try to because it doesn't look like I have a set. So I decided to call and hope that he bluffs the river. River card comes in ace, and he very confidently bets 47,800. So I'm actually a little bit worried. I'm now worried that you just made 3 aces.
I think it kind of worked in my favor because the ace is a very scary card for his range.
I think some of the time he has ace-jack. I'm also very worried that he has pocket jacks or pocket aces. He bet 50,000 almost, and he's only got 14,000 left, so I'm not folding. I certainly can't fold a set. My only thought process was, does it make sense to raise?
He took his time debating.
It really smells like aces.
And eventually, he just called, and I actually said my hand very quickly.
Queens.
I thought I won for sure, but then he told me he turned me.
Turned a set. And I'm never going to bluff in that spot, so I think I played it right by just calling the river and not getting the extra 14,000 in value.
That's just how it is, and you don't want to dwell on it too much, just kind of take the information and just move on to the next hand.
Teise hooaja parimad palad jätkavad siit Las Vegase stuudiost ning meie tänase erisaate pealkiri on Behind the Poker Face, kus siis pokeriprofid arutlevad ja selgitavad meile teatud otsuseid. Ja siin oleme me siis mängusituatsioonis, kus vastakuti lähevad Vanessa Selbst ja Prelad Friedman. Avab situatsiooni Jared Huggins, selle koosseisu püssirohutünn. Vanessa Selbst on nüüd siin meie ees 5-3-ga, tõstab $4,000, lööb 3-kordselt üle Hugginsi ja seal on Prelad Friedman suurel pimedal 10 paariga.
Friendly game.
Maksab Vanessa tõste kinni mastikaartidega S9, Huggins ilmselt edasi ei mängi ja seda ta ka ei tee. ja ootame floppi. Flop on 6, 2 ja 8. Pralat võtab rahulikult, tšekib.
Check the nuts.
Vanessa oli agressor enne. Ja on seda ka edasi, teeb jätkupanuse $6500. Friedman maksab selle panuse kinni.
Vanessa versus Spirit.
Turnikaart on 9. See palju ei muuda. Friedmani 10 on endiselt ees. Vanessal on auku reavõimalus. Tšekitakse turn läbi. Riverist tuleb lauda veel 1-8. See näitab, et Brad Friedman on selle jaotuse võitnud, kuigi see kordus on suhteliselt ohtlik. Brad Friedman on rahulik olnud kogu selle jaotuse, tema ei ole tempot dikteerinud, tšekib ka praegu Vanessa Selbst, saades aru, et ainukene võimalus see pank koju viia on agressiivsust ilmutada. Panustab nüüd siis Riveril 16-600 ja Brad Friedman peab siin nüüd pisut nuputama. Mis vastasel olla võib ja mis vastasel olla ei pruugi. Friedmani stack on 170 600.
Should raise huge. I don't think you have any of that.
16 600 on Friedmanil vaja Vanessale kinni maksta.
You bring joy to my life.
It'd be hard to call with like kings if I raise bigger. I can't help myself.
Ja Brad Friedman praeb praegu oma mõtetes. Me kuuleme neist õige pea. Praegu aga ootame Spirit Rocki otsust ja see oli fold. Korraliku bluffiga Vanessa Selbst võtab siit panga.
I think she would have valued 2 sevens there.
Vanessa Selbst, kes on meile ennemgi tänases saates näidanud seda, et bluffida ta oskab. See kuulub tema mängustiili juurde. Saab meile nüüd koos Brad Friedmaniga rääkida sellest, miks nad just sellised otsused tegid.
This hand was interesting. The loose cannon had started to become more aggressive.
Basically, the loose cannon opened and I had been super tight, especially my buttons. I was just getting literally no cards at all. So I just decided that I was going to re-raise this no matter what came.
She made it 4,000 re-raise. I look down 2 10s in the big blind. There's a good chance my hand's good.
Prahlad flat calls, and I think when he flat calls, he's either got a hand like ace queen or ace king, or a hand like pocket 10s, pocket jacks, pocket 9s, something like this. And the loose cannon folds. 8-6-2 rainbow comes in the flop, and I have a gut shot, and that's it.
I considered leading out, but I elected to check.
He checks to me. Of course, his range is very strong here, but I have 2 options. Either give up and pray for a 4, or try to take him off of what's probably a middle strength hand. And I think I'm only trying to do this because my range for re-raising him is a little bit stronger than normal. So I make a continuation bet and he calls.
I kind of felt like she probably had an overpair, queens, kings, aces. Turn comes a 9, so I kind of like the turn. So now when I checked, in my mind, I'm thinking, should I check raise big and try to get her off queens?
He could very easily have a set, like a set of 9, set of 8, set of 6, something like this. Also, I thought if he has 7s or 10s, there's a chance he might even turn it into a bluff because we're deep stacked to try to take me off a hand like kings or aces or queens. So I didn't want to risk that, especially since I have 5 high. So I thought it was mostly prudent to check.
So now I'm not sure what she has. She could have ace, king, ace, queen and be giving up, or she could just be playing pot control with kings or aces or, just scared of the board. River comes an 8, but I don't think she has trip 8s. So, I considered making a big bet, but now I'm thinking, 10s could easily be good, so I don't really need to bluff.
At this point, he checks again. His hand is pretty much face up as either pocket 10s, pocket 7s, or ace high. It really just comes down to, does he think that I think he's going to fold? And I just thought, if I bet something like 11-5, 12-5, that he would definitely just, make a crying call. But I just thought by making a $16,000 bet, it was close to the size of the pot, and it really looks like I was pot controlling on the turn.
And I know that a lot of players, or most everyone, I guess, that plays with Vanessa, would have called there. But I just felt like I was beat.
And he folded, and that was it.
And, sometimes I'm wrong, but in the long run, my instincts, do pretty well.
ees seisab vaadata veel väga palju põnevat meie tänases saates, kus me tutvustame teile mõtteprotsessi parimate pokkerimängijate teatud otsuste taga.
My standard play is to 3-bet here.
And normally I would bet here.
Kind of wanted to play it deceptively and just call.
I'm making my hand look a lot weaker than it really is.
Once again, alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Scott Huff. Welcome back to the Best of the Big Games double-sided Behind the Poker Face special, where we show you a complex hand involving big decisions from both players and then go inside their heads to see exactly what they were thinking.
These poker geniuses are giving out free lessons and revealing their secrets, so take some notes. We're about to get back to Poker University.
I applied early decision to Poker University. Waitlisted.
Joe ja Scottiga tuleb nõustuda, kui te kavatsete pokkerimängus areneda, siis tõepoolest jälgige tähelepanelikult seda, mida need pokkeriprofessionaalid teile räägivad, mis sundis neid ühte või teist otsust vastu võtma, kuidas nad selle otsuseni jõudsid. Ja järgmine käsi toob siis meieni kahevõitluse ja mõtteprotsessid Bryn Kenny ja Brian Rasti vahel. Bryn Kenny on siis kõigepealt teie ees, kes leidis taskust ässad. Ta on tõstnud 3600 ja nüüd piilub oma kaarte Rast. Äss kuningas, Big Slick väiksel pimedal. Tuleb makstes kaasa. Tavaliselt sellisel tasemel tüübid sellist kaarte omades tulevad omakorda tõstega sisse, aga mingil põhjusel Rast otsustas praegu vaid ennast kaasa makstes edasisega silmitsi seista. Flop on 2-9 ja 8. 2 ristit. See tšekiti läbi, turnist jõuab lauale emand, seegi suurt ei muuda, endiselt peavad imeliselt Bryn Kenny ässad. Rast on tšekkinud, Kenny panustab nüüd $5500, mida teeb Rast. Rast maksab selle panuse kinni, pank on kokku 20 000, Riveri kaart on laual nüüd, see on kuningas. Rast on saanud nüüd oma top-paarile pihta või vähemalt nii ta arvab, teadmata, et Kenil on taskus ässad ja see võib olla talle halb uudis, aga otsustab siiski mängida rahulikult, kontrollida sündmuste arengut lauas. Check race'i teeb Kenny, check panuse 16 500. Selle maksab Rast talle kinni ja nüüd näitab siis Kenny oma ässasid ja Rast tunnistab ennast lööduks. Kuningatest jäi seda korda pisut väheks.
Nice river card.
Could have lost less and I could have lost more on that pot.
Yeah, exactly.
Could have gotten a lot of trouble.
Ja vaatame nüüd, mida Rastil Kennil selle asjade arengu kohta öelda on.
At this point in the game, all of us had agreed to straddle. This was Phil Lock's straddle.
I look down and see 2 aces, and I opened a pot from under the gun. We have about 3 hands left, so I wanted someone to put some money in, maybe get re-raised there.
It was folded to me in the small blind. I have ace-king offsuit. My standard play is to 3-bet here, but with ace-king offsuit, I kind of wanted to play it deceptively and just call. The flop came 9-9-8 with 2 clubs.
And Brian checks, and normally I would bet here, but you know, I've played with Brian a lot. You have to change your game up sometimes. So when I check back, I'm making my hand look a lot weaker than it really is.
The turn came a queen of hearts. I checked and Bryn bet 5,500. I think you can make a decent argument for folding my hand here. However, against Bryn, who mixes up how he plays, I actually don't think folding is best.
And Brian calls, so I put him on a queen. So I love my hand now, of course.
Now the river came the king of diamonds. So now basically I want to check to Bryn and hope that he follows through and bluffs.
And I bet 16,500.
Bet a bet I thought he might make with air. I happily called with kings up with an ace kicker, and Bryn showed me 2 aces.
The way I played the hand, I like balancing it. You have to sometimes bet the flop and you have to sometimes check the flop. I'm trying to disguise my hand as much weaker than it actually is, and it worked out that way.
Could have lost less, and I could have lost more on that pot.
Yeah.
Even though I ended up losing probably 25,000, the fact that I played this hand differently pre-flop kind of lucked me into saving the rest of my stack, which was very fortunate.
Brian Rust leidis siis samuti sellest konkreetsest jaotusest üht-teist põnevat endale, aga palju põnevat on veel eeski ootamas.
We are famous. Professionals. First timers. We are instinctive. We are more than meets the eye. We are poker.
Oleme tagasi meie Las Vegase stuudios ja te vaatate, head pokkerisõbrad televaatajad, Big Game Behind the Poker Face eri. Siin on meie ees Jason Mercier ja Jonathan Duhamel. Teise hooaja ühest väga põnevast koosseisust. Ja Jason Mercier avab siit kuninga emandaga 1200 kiila Liberté, ei mängi. Bob Vulgaris piirub nüüd oma lehti, Kuus ja poiss ja ei ole mängukaart, seal on Eugene Katchalov, kes samuti 5-9-ga ei mängi. 7-4, Gary Burchell, vapustav püssirahutünn, kellel ehk nii hästi ei läinud, kui ta ise lootis, aga näitas supermängu, tuleb praegu kaasa ja Jonathan Duhamel suurel pimedal 5-2-ga mastist on ka kaasas selle jaotusega. Kolmekesi hetkel 6 kuningas ja 10-2 neist pada, me näeme, Duhamelil on tekkinud masti ost, Burchell võtab rahulikult, tšekib ka Duhamel, mida teeb Jason Mercier, kes on top paarile pihta saanud, loeb sealt nuppe ja panustab $2600. Gary Burchell ei ole millegile pihta saanud ja läheb praegu siit sellest jaotusest. Jonathan Duhamel kindlasti aga ühe panustusvooruga veel end lööduks ei tunnista ning heites altkulmu pilgu Mercier poole, maksab selle panuse kinni. Lauale tuleb 3 turnist, see ei muuda asja. Auku tekkinud reatõmme veel Duhamelil lisaks, aga Mercier top paar endiselt hästi peab. Duhamel võtab endiselt rahulikult, maksab, võidab tšeki, Mercier panustab $7100. Tema on liidri ohjad selles jaotuses nii otseses kui kaudses mõttes, nii parimat kombinatsiooni omades kui ka aktiivsust dünaamikas üles näidates enda käes hoidnud ja Duhamel maksab sellegi tänavadele kinni. Lauda tuleb 5, me näeme, et Duhamelile siit abikõrt ei tulnud. Mercier kuningapaar on endiselt tugevaim laual, aga see 5 võib olla nüüd selline kaart, mis sunnib Mercier mõtlema võimalike reakombinatsioonide kohta. Duhamel kogenud ja agressiivse mängijana võib mängida millega iganes. Miks mitte 2-4 näiteks või 4-7. Tagant tulles veel seda enam. Mercier otsustab selle ära kontrollida, panustades $18,700. Duhamelil ei ole mingit varianti, aga mida ta nüüd otsustab teha? Ja maksab Mercier'le selle kinni ning näeb nüüd halba uudist enda jaoks. Et Mercy on selle jaotuse top paariga võitnud. Ja vaatame nüüd, mida Jonathan ja Jason ise sellest jaotusest arvasid.
At this point in the game, I've been playing a lot of hands and kind of building up some momentum.
Jason's been playing pretty aggressive, like we all expected.
I opened under the gun with king-queen off.
Now he's under the gun and raised to 1200. Everybody folded to the loose cannon and the small blind who calls. I look at my card, 5 deuce suited. Just figured out good hand just to try to make a big pot with, and I got like position on the loose cannon, so I just called.
The flop came king 10-6 with 2 spades. Carry check.
At that point I thought about maybe like betting, like maybe hoping Jason raised me so I can 3-bet him. But I just figured out that he is gonna call most of the time and I'm gonna be like stuck in the turn, so I just check.
So I bet 2,600. You know, obviously trying to get value. I can possibly even get 3 streets if the board runs out good.
Loose cannon full. At that point I thought about raising again, but I kind of felt that if he has a king or maybe even a 10, he's gonna call me there, so I'm gonna have to like bet pretty big on a turn and river to make him fold. So I just called there.
I'm pretty sure, you know, I have the best hand like 90-something% of the time.
Turn card is enough suit 3.
Which is a beautiful card because now I can definitely go for 3 streets.
Now I gotta check because the way the hand was played out. So I check and he bets, you know, good bet.
I made a little bigger of a bet than I probably normally would just because I felt like he was definitely going to call the turn and maybe call the river. So I bet 7,100.
At that point I really didn't know what to do. He kind of knew I didn't have a pocket pair because I would call a lot faster pre-flop and I kind of hesitated before. So I really think he kind of knows I won't have a set. So I called there.
And then the river came in offsuit 5. It's such a great river card because, you know, every draw missed. Queen jack missed, all spades, any gut shot pretty much missed. And he checked again and I decided I was going to bet and I bet 18,700, just hoping to get called.
I really thought that with a kind of a king jack, king queen hand, he's going to check a lot of times. I kind of felt it was a semi-good time to make a kind of a crying call on the river because I thought my hand could be good. There was like so many busted draws that he could have and I kind of felt he's going to probably check back kind of just a king, a pair there. So I called it, but he turned king queen for you know, top pair and queen kicker.
I think he called me pretty light, maybe with bottom pair, like a 6, but I'm not exactly sure what he had. You know, the hand played out perfectly for me.
Big game behind the poker face eri jätkub, head televaatajad, ja üht-teist põnevat on meil teile veel varuks. Ja siin oleme siis seltskonnas, kellega me teise hooaja ka lõpetasime. Siin on Tony G, siin on Daniel Negreanu, siin on Joe Hashem, siin on Ken Frankovski, siin on Jennifer Tilly, siin on palju tuntud ja häid inimesi. Ken ei mängi. Negreanu piilub ässa 5 mastist ja tuleb sellega kaasa, teeb tõste. $2,500 Jennifer Tilly nüüd mastist 8 ja 6-ga maksab end kaasa. Tony G ruutu 9 kuningaga teeb üle tõste $5,700. Nacho Hashem ei mängi.
Well, it'll be a big pot.
Ja vaatame nüüd, mida Negreanu ja Jennifer teevad.
57, yeah?
A really big pot.
Negreanu maksab end kaasa.
Jen, you could force that up, like just make it
tuleb poolele teele vastu Tony G-le ja seda teeb ka Jennifer Tilly.
She likes flops.
Yeah, I like flops. I'm a flop junkie. When you're as good as me, you like to see a flop because you can outplay people, especially when you have the button.
Flop on 8 poiss ja 10 ei olnud piisavalt ruutusid siin Tony G ega Daniel Negreanu jaoks. Näeme, et Jennifer on saanud 8 paarile pihta ja juhib seda jaotust. Flop tšekitakse läbi, turnis tuleb lauda veel üks 10, mis mitmes mõttes suurendab Jenniferi eduseisu. Tony G tšekib, Negreanu läheb rünnakule panustades $8,500. Jennifer piilub nüüd oma 8 uskudes, et tal on hetkel veel parim kaart ja maksab Negreanule selle panuse kinni.
That's a call, right?
Yes, it is.
Tony G ei ole ka veel loobunud. Ja tahab Riveri kaardi samuti ära näha. Jennifer Tilly on juba pisut ehmunud näoga. Nüüd tuleb lauda veel üks ruutu, aga see on pisut liiga hilja. Tony G ja Daniel Negreanu jaoks. Tony G on tšekkinud. Negreanu panustab nüüd väga suurelt $18,000.
What do you have, Daniel?
The busted flush draw.
No, that's what Tony has.
Oh, never mind.
Negreanu ütleb meile tegelikkuses päris õigesti ära, mis tal on ja mis tal ei olnud. Aga mida teeb nüüd Jennifer Tilly? Ta on selle jaotuse võitnud. Ta küpseb praegu oma mõtetes. Ta ei tea, mida teha. Instinktid ütlevad talle, et ta juhib. Et tema käsi on parem. Aga kas nii ka läheb? Kas nii ta ka otsustab? Ja ta otsustab. Jennifer Tilly tegi siin õige otsuse. Maksab Negreanu panuse kinni. Tony G läheb sellest jaotusest. Tal ei ole midagi ette näidata.
Do you want to split it? That was a joke. I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
Just kidding. It's high.
Oh, I have an 8.
Good hand. Very good call.
Thank you.
Excellent call. You stole the pot. I gave the pot from me to Tony. Because Tony had me beat.
Oh, really?
Tony had you beat, yeah. Look at him.
Thank you.
He's distraught.
What, did you have a jack? Tens?
You didn't have a 10.
Tony G'l ei olnud suurt midagi. Mis iganes nägu ta teeb. Aga kuuleme nüüd, mida Jenniferil ja Danielil selle käe kohta öelda on.
Later in the game, and I know for a fact I folded a lot of the best hands just because I'm timid. I don't want to lose money.
We've already decided we're going to straddle, so the game's pretty loose. Everyone's really looking to gamble. And I'm next to the button with ace-5 of diamonds, so I open for $2,500.
And I looked down at 8-6 of spades, and so I flatted, which gave Tony G the idea to make it $5,700.
For that price, as deep as we are, I'm never folding. So I call, knowing full well Jennifer Tilly's also going to call. 3 of us take the flop. Completely misses me. It's Jack 10-8, 2 clubs and 1 diamond.
Tony G checks, Daniel checks.
I'm not so sure that I can steal this pot with Jennifer behind me because it feels like that's a flop she could really hit with a lot of hands she's going to call with.
And I think about betting, but then I check too.
So now the turn card comes at 10, and Tony G checks again, and I'm thinking, okay, he's not trapping now. As long as Jennifer doesn't have a 10, I can bluff this hand through. So I decide to take a stab for $8,500.
I'm thinking he's taking a stab at it. I'm thinking he probably does not have a 10 or a jack. If he had a jack, he probably would have bet on the flop. So I called the $8,500.
And I'm still thinking in my mind, she's not that strong. Now Tony G calls, and I'm thinking, oh boy, okay, Tony G, the way he played his hand, looks like he's got some kind of a draw. Well, the river card is a complete blank. It's a 3, and Tony checks, and looks distraught. He doesn't look like he's interested in the hand. So I feel like I can bet the river and make it look like a value bet. I didn't bet too much. I decided to bet $18,000, hoping that Jennifer would think, you know, he's probably got it.
I was thinking to call the river, but that was an awfully big bet. And then, you know, I had to rethink whether he actually had a jack or if he actually had a 10. And I don't know, my gut was just telling me he didn't have anything. And so I called him. And then Tony G folded.
She ended up making a great call. She called me, Tony G folded.
That was really one of the happiest moments of my life because with that hand, I finally became unstuck after 5 days. I'm like, I'm unstuck.
In a sense, I didn't feel bad about losing the hand because my read was right. Jennifer was weak, Tony G was on a draw, so my betting made sense the whole way through. It just didn't work out this time.
Nii, ja olemegi tänase saatega ühele poole saanud. Ma usun, et saite päris mitmeid tähelepanekuid pokkeri professionaalide mõtteprotsessist sellest, kuidas nad otsuseni jõuavad, ka endale kõrva taha pandud. Ja uues saates oleme tagasi juba nädala pärast ning siis saame higistada koos teise hooaja püssirohu tünnidega. Seniks edu laudades ja kohtumiseni!
Could have gotten a lot of trouble.